Welcome back to Growing with Nabeel. Today's video is one of the most practically useful things I've come across. And I say that as someone who spends a lot of time reading about how successful people actually operate. We're breaking down the 5-hour rule, what it is, where it came from, why the most successful people in the world quietly protect it, and how exactly you can apply it starting this week. Let's get into it. They're not smarter than you. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year. Barack Obama read every night, even while running the United States of America. Elon Musk taught himself rocket science from textbooks. Oprah Winfrey calls reading her greatest teacher. Now, here's the question. Are these people just smarter than everyone else? No, and I'll prove it. What they have in common isn't intelligence. It's one specific habit they protect every single week that most people either don't know about or don't take seriously. It's called the 5-hour rule. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear system to apply it yourself. Let's get started. The 5-hour rule was popularized by writer and researcher Michael Simmons, but the origin goes back to Benjamin Franklin, one of the most accomplished humans in history. Founding father, inventor, diplomat, writer, scientist, the man helped shape an entire nation while also finding time to invent bifocals and the lightning rod. Franklin followed a remarkably consistent daily habit throughout his life. He deliberately set aside at least 1 hour every single morning for what he called reading and examination, learning something new, reflecting on ideas, and thinking about how to apply them. He wasn't doing this because he had spare time. He was doing it because he understood something most people miss. In a world that keeps changing, the people who keep learning are the ones who stay relevant and effective. Michael Simmons studied this pattern across some of the most successful people in modern history and gave it a name, the 5-hour rule. 5 hours per week deliberately invested in learning, 1 hour a day across 5 days. That's it. Here's where most people go wrong. And I want to be honest about this because I've fallen into it myself. Being busy feels like progress. A full calendar, a long to-do list, a list of tasks feels like you're moving. But there's a difference between being busy and actually developing. Working in hospital administration, the days can be completely consumed by operational demands, meetings, decisions, people, problems. And for a long time, I confused that with busyness. I confused that busyness with growth. But I wasn't getting better at anything fundamentally. I was just getting faster at the same things. The 5-hour rule forced me to separate execution time from development time. And that distinction changed how I plan my weeks. Execution is doing your job. Development is getting better at it and at life. Most people spend 100% of their time executing and zero time developing. The 5-hour rule is simply the commitment to protect some of your week for development, no matter how busy execution gets. So, Let's look at how real people actually apply this, because the 5 hours don't all look the same. Bill Gates takes what he calls think weeks. Twice a year, he goes completely offline and does nothing but read for a full week. But even outside of think weeks, he reads consistently, roughly an hour a day. He said publicly that reading is how he learns. Full stop. Not podcasts, not summaries, books, cover to cover. Sure, there might be other sources, but you get the point that books are his main source of information. Barack Obama kept a journal and read every night before bed, even in the White House, not scheming, reading deeply, often fiction, because he believed it developed his capacity for empathy and complex thinking. That's a different application of learning time, not just consuming information, but developing as a human. Elon Musk's version is different. Again, he learned by doing. He read textbooks on rocket propulsion and aerospace engineering, then immediately applied the concepts at SpaceX. His learning time was tightly coupled to experimentation. The reading and the building happened in parallel. What all three have in common? They protected deliberate learning time from the demands of execution, even when execution was running an entire country or company. So, here's exactly how you apply this. A simple three-part system you can start this week. Part 1. Read. 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. The format matters less than the consistency. Books, long form articles, research. The goal is to be regularly absorbing ideas outside of your immediate work. If 1 hour feels impossible, start with 30 minutes and protect it like a meeting you cannot cancel. The subject doesn't need to be directly related to your job. Often the most valuable reading is adjacent or even unrelated. Cross-pollination of ideas is where original thinking comes from. Part 2. Reflect. This is the most skipped step and the most important one. Reading without reflection is like eating without digesting. Set aside even 15 minutes after a reading session. Write down one idea that landed, one question it raised, and one way it connects to something you're already doing. A simple notebook works, and trust me, by doing this, it will cement in your head. The act of writing it down forces your brain to process it rather than just pass it or skim it through. Part 3. Experiment. Take one idea from your reading each week and actually try it. Put it into application. Not think about it, not file it away, apply it. This is what separates people who read a lot from people who actually change because of what they read. Musk didn't just read about rockets, he built them. You don't need to build rockets, but whatever your domain is, your work, your channel, your relationships, find one idea per week and make it real. So let's wrap this up. Here's what I want you to take from this. Successful people aren't operating on a different level or intelligence or talent. They've just made a non-negotiable commitment to keep developing every week without exception, even when they're busy, even when they're already ahead. Especially then, 5 hours a week is 260 hours a year. That's more than 6 full 40-hour work weeks invested entirely in becoming better, compounded over years and years. That's the actual difference between people who plateau and people who keep growing. For me personally, between the MBA, the channel, the reading, this framework is what ties it all together. It's not about doing more. It's about protecting the time that makes everything else better. If you want a full daily and weekly structure that builds this kind of deliberate development into your life, the self mastery blueprint in the description below is exactly that. And if this gave you something useful today, subscribe. I put out new breakdowns every week here on Growing with Nabeel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.